Arsenal. Just stop it. 2 wins in a row? Come on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is not fake news. We have indeed won another game. That's 2 on the bounce, PG. Welcome back.
Yay! It's that day between Christmas and New Year, the days. I honestly don't know what day it is. I think it's Monday or Tuesday.
It is. It's Tuesday, and it's so funny because everyone's been texting and sending funny messages, waiting for Kevin to shout "Sophie, Sophie, Sophie." But that's not going to be the case tonight because we have super sub Mr. David Hillier coming off the bench tonight, Lacazette style, baby. Woo!
I wasn't told I had to say Sophie, Sophie, Sophie.
You might have to later.
You might have to later. Yeah, depends on your position.
Well, my position is very, very comfortable right now because I'm happy that, we got that result, especially on the back of the Chelsea game, and that he played the young lads. And they got a bit tired in the end, but, I think...
We'll go into that, Dave. Don't you worry.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning because I'd like your take. There was only one change tonight, and I want to start with the most important one of all because it was the significant turning point in the match. And David, I'm going to start with you because Amanda and I have both been on the same page about Lacazette and how we feel like he's been a little bit of a scapegoat. I've said a lot on this show about how he's our Bobby Firmino in that he does so much off the ball as he does on the ball. And what he does is allow and holds up the ball, creates spaces, felt like that fluidity was there in the Chelsea game. And Super Kev felt like Aubameyang should have started ahead of Lacazette tonight. And Amanda and I felt like maybe another game on the bench for Oba would be a good thing. He comes on and within 42 seconds scores. Tell us first what you thought about that being the only switch in the game and what you feel about Aubameyang, especially as Lacazette came on and had an immediate impact.
Well, I think first of all, I think Lacazette's done well. When he's come on, he has played well, and the games he's taken part in Europa, he's been strong. But I don't think he's been setting the world alight. I'll be honest. I don't think, I'm not going to disagree with you wholehearted, Soph, but I don't think he holds the ball up nowhere near enough, but certainly does more than Oba does. Oba wants to flick it and be on the move all the time. And it just don't suit the way Arsenal have been trying to play, having that focal point. Today we saw a change from the manager and he put Oba back in down the middle. I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you, because I would prefer out of the two Lacazette. And it showed when he came on. I know the goal didn't come from him actually being involved in the move as such, but, he showed the enthusiasm to get there in the box. And again, a couple of times tonight, I like Oba. I think he's a great finisher. I've never criticised him for his goal scoring record, but sometimes you don't do enough for me. He had like 12, 14 touches of the ball. That's just not a centre forward to me who wants to get involved in the game. He needs to do more.
Yeah, completely agree. And Amanda, we have had these conversations about Oba. He did do a decent job defensively, but obviously we want to see him do more on the offensive side. And it felt like he slowed down even ESR and Martinelli and Saka at times. His position, when he taking up his positions, it seemed a little bit lazy. He had 2 really good chances, which he completely squandered. But in the end, what matters is that we won. What's your overall take on Laka coming on, Oba not playing as well? And then we'll get to the even better stuff here.
Well, I wasn't surprised he put Aubameyang in for Lacazette. I thought that on the weekend. I said that to you and Kev. I think he'll start with him. I'm pleased he's kept predominantly the whole team apart from that. And maybe his plan, although me and you don't necessarily agree, maybe Dave, was to manage Martinelli. And I've said that all along. We need to manage him properly. He's coming back from an injury, can't play the full 90 minutes, only played a few days ago. We've got to manage that. So maybe his plan was always along to bring Lacazette on at 65 minutes. No one expected within 21 seconds that he was going to do what he did. He got into a position, and I would say that when people keep going on about Lacazette not getting service, How many chances did he have tonight? He had quite a few. And one of them, which was his signature.
Lacazette, you meant Oba not
Sorry,
getting service.
Aubameyang.
Yeah, Aubameyang, yeah.
You know, Aubameyang was on his trademark right foot. And he was so off form. It's unbelievable. And I feel so bad for him. I do. I want it to work. Of course, we all do. But it's not. And Lacazette, I slightly disagree with you, Dave, a little bit. He does hold the ball up so well. He brings so much energy. The difference was as well half-time. They came out within 10 minutes. They had 6 shots that we had 1 off target in the whole first half. That half-time, he must have thrown some teacups. He must have done George Graham, Dave, honestly, because they came out different teams.
He's had to do it a few times, but that shouldn't be necessary. You
shouldn't have
to motivate your players to that.
Do you know what? How is it that we've beaten United and Chelsea, and yet we are struggling? There was no intensity, no pressure, no nothing the first half. Look, we're not on a good run, are we, confidence-wise? Just because we beat Chelsea, we've lost so many others and drawn 1. This might just start a little bit now. 2 on the trot. You know, again, something else as well. We've had a clean sheet. Yeah, I thought Leno was excellent tonight, but we'll go on to man of the match later. I think it was his plan, if I'm honest, to bring on Lacazette when he did and take Martinelli off.
Yeah, I think definitely you've got to integrate him into the team gently. You know, 3 or 4 games from the start, at least an hour, build that stamina up. You know, that's normal. And then at 4 or 5 games, you'll build up that match resistance, you know, to the knocks, the little dead legs, because he's getting caught all the time since he's been coming on. We've seen him on the floor loads of times. He got that injury. I thought he was going to be out for a couple of games, but fortunately he wasn't. So it shows his recovery is, when you recover quick, you're in a good place. But getting back to the point you said about Oba getting in the way, I think that happened. I think that totally happened today. I think he was pulling himself out into that left-hand channel where Martinelli didn't want him out there.
Not sure they can play together.
He couldn't form a partnership properly with Tierney because every time he went to go out there, Oba's already pulled out there because it's easy. We saw Oba laying the ball off a couple of times, not even making a second run for it. One of them went out of play. It looked like and then he kind of moaned a little bit. Like it was almost like it was a misplaced pass. It wasn't. He didn't move. And for me, he wasn't showing that enthusiasm. Lacazette, he comes on, he does well. I think he could do more though. I think he could, as a forward, I don't want to see him back past the midfield. And as a midfield player today in the first half, El Neni really annoyed me. Dropping into the back 4, dropping in there. First 10 minutes of the second half, when you just quoted, we had 6 shots, 1, and 1 in the first half, 6 in that first period. He was in front of his defenders for that first 10, 15 minutes. When all them shots went in, perfect. That meant the whole team was pushed up the pitch. But you shouldn't be telling players to do that. This manager should not have to teach these high-level players who have had the best coaching in the world that you need to squeeze up, that you don't drop into the back 4 to pick a ball up when you're a centre midfield player, especially when you're playing 4-4-2 against a 4-4-2, because it left 2 against 1 in their midfield, and it was easy for Sissoko just to mop up everything in there with Pascal Gross. In the first half, Arsenal couldn't break it down because we had 2 players out of the game.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's not talk about the first half too much because it was dire, I think, for both teams. I do think we were suffocated in the midfield, Dave, and I think El Neni gave the ball away so often, and that kind of made Xhaka a bit more vulnerable. It felt like he was scrambling a bit, but I think Xhaka had another good game, 2 in a row for him in terms of trying to be as protective as he could with the lack of ball possession that we had in that, let's say the poor ball possession that we had. We gave the ball away a lot. We didn't have any really threat in the final third. To be fair to Aubameyang, we didn't create too many chances, but at the same time, I didn't feel like he was running the right channels the way Laka did that made us really lethal against Chelsea. It felt like Emile Smith-Rowe and Martinelli, as you said with Martinelli especially, wasn't quite sure kind of where he was supposed to be because there was a little bit of confusion there between the two of them. But you get to the second half, And one thing I will give credit to Arteta, and I said this in the last game too against Chelsea, is that half-time, we were known as half-time, second half Arsenal under Emery, really poor in the first half, and we'd come out in the second half and perform really, really well. And it feels like in the last 2 or 3 games, Dave, that he has had some type of an impact on the team because of the tempo that we've come out with in the second half as a player. Can you talk us through that a little bit? You have a really poor first half. You go into the dressing room. You say he doesn't need to G these players up, but these aren't normal players. And it seems like whatever he did or said, as Amanda said, maybe through teacups, but they did come out fighting in the second half. I was hoping he may have made the sub, but he didn't until the 65th minute. Talk us through that a little bit in terms of, as a player, what impact you see that he may have had.
Well, I'm not sure whether I think definitely would have raised his voice and he'd have been a bit aggressive, but I think he'd have probably gone straight to the tactics board and pointed it out to them, where they was going wrong, highlighted what they can't see on the pitch, because it's obvious they can't see it. It's going on around them, but they keep falling back into their positions. And like I said with El Neni, he needs physically to be shown. You need to stand 10 yards further up the pitch, 15 yards, get out of that space. But you shouldn't be doing that. I'll get back to that point. You shouldn't be telling players that at half-time. If anything, the central defenders, Rob Holding, take responsibility. Pablo Mari, get him out of there. Get him off your toes. And when a manager points that out and you have that discussion in the dressing room at half-time and you realise that, actually, the 3 or 4 times I've lost possession, look where I've been, I shouldn't have been there, then you all look at each other, you all accept, I should have done this, I should have done that, let's not do it second half. And he seems to get a response. And that's all I can put it down to. I never really had any managers tactically have to do too much at half-time, tinkering-wise. It was normally the teacup throw-in, and a couple of dodges from a glass of orange or whatever, maybe even a football boot would get thrown across the room. We'd sort it out. But we did that as a team. We didn't have a manager saying to us, go and stand 10 yards there, go and stand, I don't get it. We've got players around us that are capable of doing that on the pitch. So address it on the pitch. It shouldn't take to half time. But in saying that, they obviously know, because when they do change it, it works. And just keep doing it. Don't mess with something that's working. And we saw after the goal went in, we sat back again. So we sat back a bit and allowed it. El Neni straight away, I pulled it up on commentary, straight away after the restart, got the ball. He dropped all the way back. He got the ball off Leno. He hadn't done that for 15 minutes. So why is he doing it now?
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. And I think sometimes when we do go 1-0 up, keeping that tempo, I think is really important for a team. Like I was a little bit nervous, like most Arsenal fans, I'm sure, at the end. And PG, you have an Arteta, bouncing off what Dave's saying about Arteta in half-time. What's the boss saying post-game?
So he said, Arteta not surprised by the effect the young players are having. He needs to make sure they have the right senior players around them. This is what we've discussed this. Obviously, he's very happy with the result. He said the club have been very supportive. He has the right people around him to support him at this wonderful club. He thought that the team played with more freedom and courage in the second half. And maybe that's what he told him in, I think Kev's analysis at halftime was they were being quite cautious. And I even messaged Kev while he was, talking on Amazon saying, we need speed, we need some pace, we need some energy. The kids do need the senior players around him. And that's why chucking 1 or 2 in is very good. I'd also, the difference in the second half with Emile Smith-Rowe is just such a talent. He
bossed it. The first half hour, he especially bossed. He is
just such a talent. And I hope we continue on this vein and he doesn't drop them. I don't mind them being subbed. I've got no problem 60, 70 minutes. I've just really enjoyed watching them. But I would like to ask Dave 2 things, Dave. I want to touch on something. How important, because I think it is, before we go anywhere, is that we don't have a proper captain. You said about the first half, they shouldn't need to go in second half, have teacups thrown at them, being screamed at, and go and do that. If we had a captain on that pitch, if Tony Adams was on that pitch, I know we say this all the time, this wouldn't be happening. So as much as it seems a lot of people are against Aubameyang at the moment because his form's bad. He's not a captain. He never has been. Every single Arsenal fan wants Aubameyang to start scoring. There's no doubt about it. There's no agenda. He's just not got the confidence of the scoring at the moment. But he's not captain material. So, no. Dave, I'll ask you the question. How important is it? Some people say it isn't. I disagree.
No, it's absolutely important. It's because you want everything to be clear. You don't want to be able to. It's like having a mum and a dad in it, and the kid goes to the mum, don't get it, and then toddles off to the dad, see if they can get it. There's one captain leading the club. Everything goes through him. The instructions on the pitch when it's a rollicking need to go through him. Other players can do a little rollicking, but he does the major one. When it comes from him, he's like the headmaster coming in. It means something. But more than that, I think it's the right player being captain. And certainly Oba he's not captain material. He doesn't motivate anyone by the only thing that motivates people are his goals and when he's getting them. And so unless he's firing and on form, that's never going to happen. And it put a pressure on him, I think, as well. And he's a bit of a happy-go-lucky character. Ian Wright wouldn't really have wanted to be captain. No. Certainly not in his heyday. Towards the end when you're the experienced one and all that. And and I think you made a good point about having Arteta saying about having the right players around his youngsters. And I think that's why he doesn't play Dani Ceballos in there. And I think that's why he sticks with Xhaka. Mm-hmm. Because I think Xhaka, for all his faults, sets a decent example with his mental strength. And he's the kind of a daddy figure on the pitch. And it does allow those younger players that have grown together. They're brave together as a group. But when you have the wrong players in between them, they do lose their bravery a little bit. So you've got to finally balance that. And it's good to see that he's got the backing of the club, because moving forward with youngsters is never going to be easy. You might have a couple of not so trophy-full seasons, but it's what we need.
Who would you have?
I'm going to ask you. In this team now, who would you choose?
I don't work with them in training, but in the team that started tonight, I would have had Rob Holding captain.
I was thinking that.
I think he was made captain a couple of weeks ago. Was it in either the Southampton or the Burnley game, possibly? And he didn't get it the next game, and I thought that was a bit harsh. And he went back in his shell a little bit. But even in the warm-up before the game when he was captain, he was pointing people out, telling them to get going, doing all that, the things you should. He kind of wanted to take the role on. I don't see anyone else in the team doing it. Murray is too fresh.
Tierney?
He's not English. Tierney, again, he don't need that pressure on him. He's a left-back. He's a young lad, just joined the club. He's full of fire. If you give him the captaincy, he'll get sent off one every 4 games because he'll feel like he needs to kill everything and mow everything down in front of him, won't he?
See, this is why I could see. I said this to Amanda and KC a lot, Dave. Is that I can see why Xhaka was made captain by Emery. Yeah, why absolutely. He's been given it by certain managers. He's definitely. I know he's had his problems on the pitch. I mean, there are a lot of players at Arsenal that have had players on the pitch and have gone on to wear the armband, in the past. And this happens at many different clubs. I like the shout of Holding. Holding, to me, is a very stable character. I like the British core that we still have at the club as well. Holding has been criticised heavily, but he's really, don't you think, I wanted to get to him a little bit. Don't you feel like he's grown in his position, Dave, as a player? No, and I like him playing with Mari in the last couple games, for example. It feels like when he played with Mertesacker, which I was saying to PG and KC on the previous show, if he has a smart player positionally, I mean, Mari doesn't have the pace. He's got more pace than Mertesacker for sure. But it feels like when he's playing with a smart football brain, he plays better as well.
Yeah, he knows how to get in sync with his other centre half, definitely. And what he does is he's a central defender who looks around him at his other defenders and say, well, he's going for the ball short, so I've got to tuck in and cover him behind. He doesn't think, oh, he's going for the ball short, I wonder if he'll win it, and then I'll react to something after that because I just want to play football. He's defensive thinking, so he's always on the cover. He's always helping you out. Gabriel would be a good shout. I'm not sure how his communication is with other players. You know?
Yeah, I think he's got to morph himself into the club a little bit more, don't you think?
Yeah, whether he's got that, I don't know whether he's got that about himself, whether he feels he's in, because you've got to feel like you want to be captain as well. You can't just have it. You've got to be in a position to say, do you know what, I'm going to puff my chest out and take this on. You don't want to just take it for the kudos and say, yeah, I've always wanted to be captain of Arsenal. But, you know, I've always wanted to be captain of Arsenal. That's what we want to see. And until he's at that point, but it's that they are thin on the ground, captains at Arsenal, and they have been for a few years, but certainly messing around. It didn't help when Unai Emery came in and made 5, did it? I mean, what must have that said to the dressing room?
It's like NFL team when they won.
And you know what? Stick with one. If he's going to stick with Holding, stick with one, because we need to build a captain. We need a captain on that pitch. I always like defenders as captain or midfielders. Definitely not attackers. Definitely not.
I mean, you hear the phrase batted around, don't you? I want 11 captains on the pitch and all that. But that's fine. But that's 11 different opinions then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's 11 sets of rules. Every time you bring in and allow someone to have a new rule or a new this or a new that, or something else expands and gets bigger, you know, and the rule, people think it gives you freedom. It doesn't. It just brings more rules to the pot, more opinions. Listen, one singer, one song. Let's get moving. And when we're really good, maybe we can tinker with things when we're brilliant. But we ain't yet.
You didn't like duets then, hey Dave? You don't like a good duet every now and again? No?
A good duet? I don't get it. Well, come on, what have I done?
Well, you said a singer, single song. So I'm just wondering if you love the odd duet every now and again.
I have
like Lionel Richie, Diana Ross.
KC, because we've done a few duets back in the day, but we can't talk about them.
PG, before you get to the quotes, I want to build it up for you because I just want to give everyone some stats. Okay, possession 49.9 to Brighton, 50.1 to us. The first numbers I call out are Brighton, of course, they're the home team. Total shots 13 to 11, on target 2 to 3, off target 5 to 6. 6 shots blocked for Brighton, 2 for us. Passing percentage 81.9 to 85.6. Clear cut chances 0 for Brighton. This says a lot about how we played. 1 for us. 5 corners to Brighton, 4 for us. Saka needs to do better on clearing the first defender, but we'll get to that. 58.8 tackles, 60. And 2 saves each. Fouls committed 11 for them. Again, says a lot about us, and 4 for us. We won 11 fouls. They won 4, 2 yellow cards. What quotes do you have for us now, PG?
Okay, so this is Arteta on Lacazette. I think this is what all the managers dream of. He's full of confidence. Today he had a sore back and could not start the game, but he came on and won it for us. Excuse me. Arteta on Saka injury. Hopefully not. He was limping as he took a strong challenge. Hopefully he'll be all right. Arteta, we look much more confident, re-energised. I said that the best medicine is wins. The picture looks much better at the moment. We just need to find consistency and go again against West Brom.
Okay, so I have a question, PG, for you and Dave then, based on that, okay? You ready? Or did you have a follow-up?
No, I just wanted to say that, as I said to you time and time again, we don't know what goes on at the club. Lacazette wasn't dropped. That's my point. There's a plan, always a plan. It just doesn't look like that to us fans sometimes.
Yep, agree with that. But he could have also started and then been subbed. So it works both ways a little bit, doesn't it?
I would think it's better to come off the bench.
If he has a sore back, start him. He can come off. Oba can come on. Oba, I think, needs to be humbled a little bit and earn it. But Dave, I want to get your take on this because we've had a huge back and forth and debate on this show about Arteta. Nobody on the show is Arteta out. I've definitely been Arteta's on the hot seat because one of the things PG and I agree on is that he really needed to drop the favourites. And look what has happened, Dave. He's been forced into this. So what I want to know from you and PG now is how much of this is Arteta versus the younger players coming in and adding the energy and the tempo into the team and bailing him out a little bit, because I'm sure even you have bailed the manager out every now and again in your playing career. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, every manager is only as good as the set of players he's got. And if the set of players he's got are not performing, he's the one paid to make changes and to put his faith in them. So first and foremost, he's got to have credit for that. I don't think he needs to be bailed out of anything. As I said, it's down to the players. The last two managers have been cost their jobs by the players, if you ask me.
If Willian and David Luiz were fit and ready to play, do you not feel they would still be playing? Don't you feel he was forced into these changes based on the history that we know of him so far?
I'm not so sure. I mean, listening to what Amanda just said about his press conference, about alluding to the fact that you're playing youngsters now and you're being supported in that, is a kind of bit of a strange comment to make. He's almost saying, like, now I can finally say I've been backed with these players. You can't keep playing players that are obvious, even to the people that brought them in. We saw Edu in the crowd, not in the crowd, in the stadium, didn't we? When Pepe was just awful when he was playing, and he was shaking his head at Willian, and at times, and you're thinking, you're kind of instigating those things, and you're not happy with it. So something had to change. Certainly, they've been crowbarred into the side in other games, but I think moving forward now, he's stalled out a little bit. He said the players have performed for me. I wouldn't totally agree that they was like as as enthusiastic in the game tonight as he thinks they probably were. It didn't look like that until the second half, certainly. But he's got to stick with them. He's absolutely got to stick with them and put those big boys on their bums on the bench and show them that you can't just turn up at Arsenal, pick up loads of money every week and not play. You've got players out there that are playing for 30 grand a week, not 200 grand a week, and they're bringing the club through. So do the maths. Get 10 of them, and we'll finish 10th for 2 years. But I'll tell you what, every time one of them players move on, it'll be worth 30 million quid. And you'll make more than you lose, and you'll climb the table, and you'll get back a bit of the true Arsenal that we see glimpses of, but only when those young players click together.
PG, I've got one for you, babe. So a player that you and I are both in love with, and I wrote to Chris Wheatley today and I said, can you please wrap Saka up in cotton wool, run onto the pitch, wrap him up in cotton wool and just keep him safe for us. Put him on your windowsill, make a cup of tea, make sure he's all right. When he went down, I think all of us gasped, and that's the kind of player that he's become for the club. He didn't really have a great first half, but nobody did. But in that second half, the way he took the ball and turned and ran down the flank to pass to Lacazette, which, by the way, he was able to make that pass and that run because Laka's movement, which is what you and I've talked about, that Oba has lacked that confidence a little bit. But let's talk about Saka a little bit. We've talked about Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, of course. But this kid, what a touch, a turn and a run for the pass. Mustard.
I actually don't know what else to say about Saka. My heart goes in my mouth every time he goes down and he bangs the floor and the pitch, and I'm like, oh my God, he's injured. Carl goes, calm down. I go, oh, I can't have him injured. Any player, just not him. He is. And look, on a small scale of magnificent. I love watching him play. And slightly disagree, Dave. I do think they brought a lot of energy to the game. I'm not saying first half, because I understand we didn't play terrible the first half. It was a bit bland, obviously. Let's just say something else as well. Brighton weren't very good, because if they were better in front of goal, it might have been a different story tonight. But we won. We move on from that, and it's 2 wins and a clean sheet. But Saka is outstanding. I'm sorry. He's just a natural talent that we have to nurture. Now, he plays game after game after game. He's obviously one of those players that can do that. Great. I love seeing him. I also want Arteta to manage him properly as well. I really do. I didn't really understand, and maybe Dave as an ex-player can explain this. When Saka went down, it looked quite bad. Okay. Mm-hmm. They said the stretcher had been called and they didn't need it. He got up. You could see he could hardly walk. Right. But then they were going to take off Emile Smith-Rowe instead of Saka. And I said to Carl, why are they not just taking Saka off? And Carl was saying, look, it might have just been a kick to the shin. It might not be that bad. But you could tell it wasn't that good. I understand that they've got to see if they can run it off a little bit. But he's so precious, Dave. I just wanted him off. I wanted him rested, because I want to see him virtually every match.
But he don't want to rest, does he?
I know.
You got to remember that. You got to factor into this, because he has, as you said, he started off when he was coming in the side, didn't he? Coming on for 10, 15 minutes at the end. Then when he started playing games, he was getting an hour, maybe 65 minutes. But now he's matured. He's got that stamina, that strength about him. The way he turned Burn on the halfway line, the strength he showed, the pace to get away from him, and the cleverness, to field a defender behind him. He was doing everything Kev will tell you. That was, if a defender comes up tight like that, you love it. You love it, especially if you've got pace, but you've still got to use it. And he does. And I agree with it, a great player, but he can also be his own worst enemy because he flies into tackles as well. He gets kicked left, right, and centre, and he still puts he's got to manage himself a little bit better.
Yeah, he has.
I kind of wanted him to walk off, and just say no. When he used to have a little twinge in his hamstring, and he used to say, "No, I don't fancy it, Gaffer. I'm calling the day today."
Yeah,
and I wanted him to do that, but he's inspirational. It's a shame that he's Arsenal's a young player doing that for Arsenal. He shouldn't be having to lead this side every week in, week out.
He is though. But the maturity will, when the maturity hits him football-wise, he will walk off the pitch because he will make his.
It's going to catch up with the way he plays. He's so mature the way he plays. His brain.
Mental. It will, because as you say, he'll get one bad injury and he'll think, "Fuck, why didn't I come off the pitch?"
Bite your tongue. You're not allowed to say things like that. You can't say things like that. Bite your tongue. He's not going to get a bad injury. Okay.
I thought you meant my swearing. No, God forbid.
Let's also take it from there, because the touch, the run, and then Lacazette's on 40 seconds. We just circle back to him just for a second, Dave, because he had one chance and he took it. And that is the sign of a player. And I want you to kind of take us in the mind of the player again here, in that, to me, he seems like he's bruised. His ego's hurt. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's playing like a man possessed. And right now, he's, as much as we haven't scored too many goals, he is our top scorer in the league. And for the next game against West Brom, do you start him? If he's got a bad back, and he did that. Yeah, exactly, mate.
Yeah, no, he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, hasn't he? Like you said, leading that line, and he's good friends with Aubameyang as well, which probably doesn't help that much, because it's always nice to have a little bit of angst, I think, sometimes with your sort of rival, and then it keeps the game alive between the both of you. But I think he's come out on top recently. Oba's fell flat, and Laka's been better, shall we say. But I don't necessarily feel sorry for him, though. He's an experienced player. He should be leading Bukayo Saka, not the other way around. But when he plays with Saka, he knows what he's going to get. He knew when Saka turned on that line that if he makes that run in the box, Saka's strong enough, good enough to find him. And he did it. And what I liked about his run as well, he was composed. It wasn't a man who was searching for goals, because he ran straight past that near post. He's too anxious and he's in there too early. He held it. He held his run. He kept his time. He had a good first touch. He was composed, and he had inches to squeeze that ball in at the near post, and it was a great finish. So if he can bring that composure in all the games and don't get caught up when he's not playing so well, I think he should probably start, and he'll be a better gel for those younger players than Oba, personally.
Let's do this, PG, because we can whiz through this and then we get to talk about all the players. We can give our quick ratings and get Dave's ratings too. We like to do that in our post-game shows. You mentioned Leno at the start of the show, PG.
I was about to talk about him.
Yeah.
You must have read my mind.
I'm going to let you I'm handing it over to you, because it seemed like he was more tenacious. He came for crosses more aggressively. Let's start there.
Well, I tweeted, didn't I? I don't know when we played Chelsea. Was it Saturday or Sunday? I've lost, as I said, I don't know what day it is.
Boxing Day, whatever day that
was.
Saturday.
Yeah. I said, I'm so pleased for Leno that he saved that penalty, because it's been so much Martinez loving, and rightly so. But Leno is our goalkeeper. He's our number one, and we need to be supporting him. And when he saved that penalty, I was so bloody pleased for him, because he just gets on with his job. He just does. He's not, how can I put this? He's not one of the loud, he doesn't seem loud to me. He hasn't got that aggression. But I feel
arrogant, like
that's the word. Yeah. We don't know much about him. He's not on social media often. We don't know much about him, but he does his job. And I'm really proud for him. And now again, a clean sheet today. And the fact that I felt he saved us today, actually, I do believe that he's growing as well. And there was one point that he tried to throw the ball out on Saturday, or was it today? No, Saturday. He went mad because no one was running for him. And I love that. He wanted to do it quick and there wasn't anyone on for it. And I just think to myself, do you know what? So pleased for him. And he played really well today. He saved us. He felt He felt protective of the goal. He did come for his crosses. I felt, you know what I'm trying to say? I felt confident with him in goal.
Dave, what's your take on Leno? I mean, everyone thinks we sold the wrong keeper. I think that's because Emmy's such a big character. He was brilliant when he came in, when Leno got injured. We won the FA Cup with him on that run. And he's doing really well at Aston Villa. So it's easy to kind of say we sold the wrong keeper. What's your take?
I think he's a good keeper. I don't think we sold the wrong keeper. I don't think maybe we should have got rid of him, but we offered him a contract. We couldn't guarantee him first team football. And you've got to say, since Leno come in, apart from that one little blip when he went out of the side, I think he got a little injury as well, and Emmy stepped in and done unbelievable, got his move really. He's been steady, he's been strong. He has got a bit of an arrogance about him, but like you said, you want that from a goalkeeper. He's got a confidence and a quietness about him. He does like to get the game going. And I think sometimes that's frustrating because I watch him get the ball. He's got and I'm thinking, why are you not running players? Why is Tierney not on the halfway line? And why are our defenders not split? But that's not always possible. There's a lot of energy. Players can be tired and that. But it's good to see him on the front. And he certainly has popped up. I mean, a couple of saves today. I don't think Brighton were the most prolific in front of goal as far as their quality went. And they didn't really, they were a bit flat, weren't they?
They were today. They really were.
Yeah, they was a bit blunt.
And they've drawn a lot of games too, and they just haven't been able to be as prolific in front of goals they were last season. Yes, mate.
Also, Brighton, 4th in the table for shots against. I think only Liverpool, Man City, might be Leicester above them. So for Arsenal to get as many shots off as they did today was pretty impressive. Brighton have closed the door on most teams, stopped them from getting shots on target. So it's always going to be one goal that won this game.
Definitely. All right, so I'm going to give Leno a 7.5 today. What about you guys?
I'd say 8, actually.
An 8?
Shall I let ladies go first?
Yeah, you're very gentlemanly.
I'm going 8.
I'll go 7. He did what he needed to do.
All right, cool. Jump in, everyone on chat. Let's get your ratings as well. We'll throw them up on the screen.
What's average? Is 6 average? Would you say?
I think a 6 is
between 5 and 10. We're going to do so.
I think 6.5 is average.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll give him 7.5 then.
All right. Now I'm going to get to a player who we've ripped to shreds on this show. Amanda and I have definitely ripped him to shreds. And
which one?
Those shorts I'd love to rip to shreds as well, Dave, the way he bloody wears them. It really annoys me.
You were going to say this.
But credit where it's due. And listen, on this channel, we don't do things just for bites, right? We talk the truth and we give credit where it's true, and we eat humble pie. And I've eaten humble pie on Maitland-Niles. Maybe towards the end of the season, that humble pie I baked for Arteta, he'll give me a slice as well, okay? So Hector Bellerin, 2 good games in a row, dare I say. Do you agree? I'll start with you on this one, Dave.
Are you asking me to score him first?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
6.
All right. 6. But do you agree that he's had 2 good games on the bounce?
I'd say he's had 2 better games on the bounce. For me, he still lacks a lot as far as he doesn't look like he's got the ambition anymore. For me, of a marauding fullback, and that's what you need. He doesn't do what Tierney does on the other side. If he starts doing that, he'll get 7s and 8s. But for me, he's always going to be on a little bit on the side of a poser.
Are you taking the 25 million from Barcelona if it's true? I think me and PP will send him with a paella on the way.
The thing is, we've got players who ain't even right backs who can play as well as him. So, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. We've got players like Maitland-Niles who come in and can do a job. Suarez, who's a right back, I can't see him. What I've seen of him, he's pretty much on a similar par. He gets up there, but doesn't really flatters to deceive. And Bellerin, over a season, I think will cause you more problems than he will give you advantages.
PG, what are you doing for our little dartboard? What are you giving him today?
Because I have slaughtered him, and he has played well the last couple of games. Not brilliant, but he has played a lot better. I'll go 6.
Oh my God! And London James gave him -6. That's a bit harsh,
that's
mate.
not
That's
fair.
harsh.
There's a little bit harsh.
All right, I'll give him a 6 as well because it's an
Yeah.
improvement on the 3 we gave him a few days ago. All right, Rob Holding we talked about. Let's just throw out a number for him. I'm going to give him a nice solid 7 today, I think, for Holdinho. PG?
I'd go 7.5.
All right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm with PG on that one. 7.5. I think he's solid enough when called upon, and when he's got someone alongside him that he can work with, which he, Pablo Mari can. I think it brings more of him into the game. Yeah, I think he had a comfortable game.
I like it, and I think the chat is agreeing with us a lot on the Holding rating here. All right, guys, we move to who? I'm having a brain. Mari. Thank you, Pablo Mari. He's a very handsome fella, and he seems to have lovely feet. But he has a good football brain. I like this because I think he's done well, considering, Dave, that he's really not had a lot of Premier League football. He's come into a tough Chelsea game, and I think he did decent. He gave away the penalty, of course, which was not so good. Not going to kill him over that. He hasn't played a lot. What's your vote on Mari and how you think he's done in his 2 consecutive games here?
So I think I'll give him a comfortable 7, just above average. Like I said, I don't think he's set the world alight, but he's feeling his way back in. Started off with a couple of Europa games. He looked better in them, in fact, because he played more advanced, I felt. But finding his feet and it suits him in the back 4. Just where does he play when Gabriel comes back? But I think a 7's a decent score for him today.
What about you, PG?
Just before we go on that, because Dave's reminded me, we wish Gabriel well. We really, really do, because I know he's not feeling so great at the moment. So get well soon, Gabriel. I want something like 7.25 for Mari. Because I think a little bit better than a 7, but he's not a 7.5 yet. But I think he's quite stable. I quite like him there. But it's nice, isn't it, Dave, that when Gabriel comes back, we'll have a little bit of fight for places. Yeah, and I saw that as well, Philip. I saw him shouting at El Neni as well, and that's what we want. So, all right, I'm going to be a bit more positive and go 7.5.
Newman's gone for he's calling your 7.5 with a 7.2.
Yes, Newman. That's exactly what I mean. Just that little bit above 7.
Welcome to everyone in chat. Thanks for joining us. We don't usually ask, but if you like us, hit that like button. And if you don't, that's okay. We'll still be friends. We appreciate
and subscribe.
The few hundred of you that are joining us after the show. You're listening to the Highbury Squad. We have super sub on tonight, Mr. David Hillier. Oh, as Super Kev would say. We move on to one of the favourites of all Arsenal fans right now, Mr. Kieran Tierney. Dave, do you love this guy as much as everyone else?
Yeah, I love him up until he gets in and around the box, and he frustrates the hell out of me at times. But last couple of games, he's made good decisions. Yeah, I think sometimes he just needs to be a bit greedier and get in the box. But we've seen him do that in the last 2 games, and look what it's brought to the side. I do think sometimes his crossing could be a tiny bit better. And I think that would take him to the level of a Robertson at Liverpool, for example. It's only that last little bit. But listen, you can't knock the lad for his heart, his bravery, his honesty when he plays. And I think he gets frustrated with players around him, and I love it. I love that. He shows it on his face. Solid again tonight down that side, although not as impressive in the Chelsea game. I think I'll give him a 7.725. Just to get it in there.
I love Mr. 8.
I think he's taking the piss out of me a little bit.
Recurring.
Well, he's getting the big up from Sonny here. Proper down to earth geezer. You cannot argue with that at all, can you? PG, what about you and I have a huge love for Tierney, especially since the Tesco bag. I think everybody does. What's your vote?
8.5. Sorry, I don't care if anyone agrees with me or not. I don't care. I love him. I love everything about him, and I never want him not on that pitch. I thought he was excellent tonight.
Excellent.
And he's got the tightest shorts of them all.
I know, but you know what was funny?
He's better than Bellerin, though, doesn't he?
When he turns up on the pitch and all in their training gear and their masks and everything, right? And it's raining and it's cold. Even Cole said to me, "Look at him in his t-shirt. He's so Scottish, isn't he? Just walks in a t-shirt
on his face.
Yeah.
Blue stripes.
By the way, By the way, sorry, I was going to say, because I'm going to forget now, but the Highbury kid, who's one of our favourite listeners and always comes in on the show, you guys, it's his birthday today for the Highbury kid. So Highbury kid, happy birthday from everyone
happy
at
birthday,
the
Highbury kid.
Yay. And you got a very nice present.
Yes,
a 1-0 win.
An Arsenal win.
8.5, Soph. What about you?
8.5. I'm going to give him an 8.
Okay.
All right, here's one where I love to do Razzies, El Neni, I'll just give you mine, 3. Okay, next, you guys.
You can't go 3. You're going to go 5 because that's the lowest one.
We're only, okay. Well, no, it's a 3. He was rubbish in the first half. He was better in the second. I'll give him a 3.5.
He caused a few problems in the first half, I have to say. I'd give him a 5.5. I can't go much higher, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm going to give him 5 if it's the lowest. I just think he self-deploys. He does what he wants to do sometimes, and it don't help the team out. And it's obvious when he does the right thing. So just move up the pitch, mate, and stop getting everyone away.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to Xhaka, a player who's been under huge fire. He's a hit and miss. One day people love him. The next day they hate him. He scores a screamer against Chelsea. I thought he did pretty well today. I'm going to give Saka a 7. PG.
I'd go 6.5 for Xhaka today. Thought he did okay. I forgot he was even on the pitch the first half. Didn't even hear his name, but I'll go 6.5.
Yeah, I think first half everybody weren't really there, was they? But he held his position today. I think that helped. If he'd have gone off piece like El Neni, it would have been even worse in that centre of the pitch. I'll give him a 7.5. I think he deserves that.
Do you know what? Everyone in chat are at like 5 and 6, Dave, on Xhaka. I can see
it's just a bit harsh.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh.
When he plays, then players in front of him are allowed to go and play their game. So you've got to give him that. He does a dirty job sometimes, and you don't get recognised for it. And he was tidy enough on the ball. He didn't make
a lot of dirty jobs back in the day, didn't you, Dave? For them boys.
Easy.
There's some stories there.
I had special hits coming through on a Friday. I used to get a little slip of paper from George Graham to say, "Destroy this in 20 seconds after you've read it. I want you to kill Roy Keane tomorrow."
I love it. Absolutely brilliant.
Right, who's the next one?
We'll go through these swiftly. Here we go. Saka.
84.
Her maths is so off, Dave. It's so off. I love it. It's brilliant. She just picks it up as she goes along. 10.
Obviously.
You can't give him a 10 after that first half, but it's your mark. You can do what you want.
All right, I'll do 9.75 because he wasn't very good in the first. No one was. 9.75.
Dave?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to creep above 8.5 for me today, but I'll give him the 8.5 definitely.
Okay.
I'm going to give him an 8. I'm going to give him an 8, and he gets the extra 0.5 for the touch and the turn for the goal, because that was just sublime. You just don't see that a lot in our team anymore, and to have a player that can do that, it's just wonderful. This is where I think, Lacazette deserves a little bit of credit too, because of the way he turns. He's been able to do that. He did that really well last season. Emile Smith-Rowe, Mr. Hillier. Do you like him as much as most? Do you think he's got a future?
Yeah.
Do you think he can nail that position down?
Well, I think he has to find his place in that team, because he's always searching. But for me, he's most dangerous when he's running with a ball. He's a little bit of a Grealish come Wiltshire type player, where he allows players to get really close to him before he lays it off, and that's how he makes his space, because he's not the fastest in the world, but he exploits space behind people well. He attacks people. He's a brave young player. I thought he was excellent against Chelsea, and today I would give him an 8.4, just slightly behind.
Ooh. Look, he's catching on, PG. He's catching on right here with
me.
He weren't quite Saka, but hey, what the hell? 8.5. He's all right. Emil. 8.5.
I agree with Carl here too. Best number 10 in the squad. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. But do you like the way I want him to pull his socks up? I'm not into this thing.
I'm just gonna go 8.25 for Emile Smith-Rowe.
Excellent. All right, let's move on then. Martinelli. PG, let's start with you.
Oh, I don't like to say this, but he didn't. It was hard. What Dave said at the beginning was true. Aubameyang kept going into his place, his space, his position. It wasn't easy for him. There's no way I can give him less than, let me have a think about it. I'll go 7. I think that's fair, but I love him. I just don't think that he had the best of his games today, and maybe not so much of his fault. So I'll say 7.
Okay. Dave? Sorry, the phone rang there.
I'm gonna give him half a point for every time he touched the ball.
What do you
reckon that works out? Come on, you said Amanda would numbers.
14.
7.
You're both close. About 6.5.
Oh,
13
okay.
times, 13 passes he had today. I mean, he'll be disappointed with that. He needs to get in the game more, but I think he was hampered a bit. I think sometimes his space was taken up and he found it difficult to get in the game. So I'll give him a very generous 6.5.
I agree with the solo here. Oba kept taking up his space. I mean, I think playing with Lacazette is a totally different ball game. He's going to have to figure that part out because he's way too good to not be playing in this team and pushing Oba when he's not playing well. So hopefully it won't be a case of square pegs, round holes again from Arteta. All right, here we go. The captain, Aubameyang. I'll start 5.
Oh dear. I'll go next because I'll let Amanda have the glory at the end.
There's no glory.
5. I'm forced into that, to be fair. And he touched the ball 21 times. I didn't see him out there touch it 21 times. A 5. I can't give him no more than that. I'd like to, but unfortunately, Pierre, you're not doing it for me at the moment, mate.
I would say probably 4.85. It didn't do anything.
Look at her going below 5 when she was telling us off.
She makes her own rules, don't she? Princess. She's such a princess. Look,
I know.
Don't even have to go to park. She just changes the rules.
I tell her off for doing something, and then you know what? 5. Can't. I don't think there's anything to say. Really, we just all want him to play back into form.
I'm not sure he's got it in him. I don't listen. There's something not. When you said, Amanda, she goes, what was your tweet about? When is he going to run, or what was it? There was a tweet you said.
I said he's so completely off form. It's incredible how off form he is.
And then you were talking about when's he going to run again, and I said when he goes to pick up his next Lamborghini.
No, I said where's his pace gone?
That's there you go. Picking up his next Lamborghini. To me, Dave, he seems a little bit deli distracted. When they get a little bit caught up in the money and the stuff.
Yeah, I think Alexis Sanchez went like that when he started posting things of himself all over the world during like an international break. I've just popped here for 3 days to, show off, get some new diamonds on my car. Yeah, I don't think that helps. I don't think the kind of person he is, it helps his personality. He's got that kind of cool, calm, collected look. Listen, there's nothing cool, calm and collected on a football pitch. Your heart rate should be 175, 170 most of the game. You should be highly energized. You should be unable to be kept down. But him, I don't think he gets above 120. I think he just cruises around at the moment and he don't put his body on the line. He's not getting in the right positions. And I think there's a little bit of focus gone astray somewhere.
Okay, so why, Dave? What do you... We'll go on to Lacazette. You don't know what's happened to him. He was magnificent last year. What about this year? What's changed? He signs the contract, which we're all desperate for. Every Arsenal fan wanted him to sign. Mm-hmm. He signs, and then players do go through bad patches. We've seen it. And, Kev and I argued on here quite a lot. I say to Kev, how long do we play him for? I'm sorry, it's not about Aubameyang. It's about Arsenal winning games so we avoid relegation. And he said, you play him because he's the best striker in the club. But at the moment, if you watch the last few games or whatever, he's not at the moment. So what do you think?
Well, so if he's not the best striker at the club at the moment, you don't play him. And he's got to sit back and he's got to take some criticism, I think. I mean, I've never been a forward and I've never had that sort of mentality. And obviously, like Kevin, he's very precious, Kevin. You know what I mean? He's like, you've got to cover him in cotton wool and all of that. He takes comments to heart all the time, like forwards do. They're soft as anything, and that's just the way it is. But Oba, I just think it's almost like a switch has gone off. You know, he was closing down people, and he was on the hunt all the time, and he was looking to bring his players. You'd see him waving the team up the pitch at times. Come on, run with me. I ain't seeing none of that at the moment. I can't put my finger on it. I don't work with him every day. The manager's he's always based Arteta though on the way he picks his team, on the response he gets in training, players' attitudes, blah blah blah. Well, that seems to be all right because he's putting him in the side. So I can't see him being a bit of a show off or a diva. I just think he's just lost his way a little bit on where he's most effective in his own mind. You know, where should I be? Just stay down the middle of the pitch, mate. That's where the goals are scored.
Yeah. Right, we're going to talk Lacazette. We can't forget him. So go on, Soph. What's yours?
Also, Carl's thrown in a rating for Kevin Campbell. I'm sure that's for his Amazon appearance tonight. Lacazette, to me, just gets an 8 just for scoring the winning goal. Over to you guys. I mean, I love him. You know how I feel about Lacazette, PG. I think he's our Bobby Firmino. He's underrated. He's underappreciated. He does so much off the ball. Yes, we'd like him to score more goals. But what he does and what he did in that Chelsea game, I think is indicative of what he can do going forward. I've always been a huge fan.
I'm going to ask Dave, actually. I'm interested what Dave thinks he would rate Lacazette tonight.
I don't mind going second and letting you have the glory again, Amanda.
It's not about the glory.
That's all right, Princess. I know, what it's like up at the top of that tower.
He's playing the Kevin role.
Lonely, don't it?
Yeah, he's playing the Kevin role perfectly. I think Kev's had a word with him.
Oh, dear. Yeah, well, I've got a little list of things to say from KC. I'd probably, his contribution wasn't massive. I'm just looking at his stats now. Six passes, 4 successful, 50% passing accuracy, but he got a goal. Eight all day long. He's got the goal. He's took the team through. I played with Ian Wright for all those years, and he played shit in some games, and he got the goal, and I still gave him a 9.5. So just for getting the win. So not many. He didn't. Not many, but he'd get it. You know, if we won a penalty shootout 5-4, right, he'd take the last one. So you've got to give the forwards their glory, and yeah, I'll give him an 8. He got the win for Arsenal today.
Okay, so I'm going 8.25 because I just want to give him that little bit 0.25 for that fantastic goal he scored in between the post of the goalkeeper. I mean, it was just such a brilliant shot. So 8.25 for Lacazette.
Lovely. Perfect. Okay, should we do the subs? Because Lacazette obviously was a sub. Ceballos and Maitland-Niles. I don't think Maitland-Niles counts. Ceballos had 10 minutes. Does that count really? He seemed a bit pissed off that he didn't come on though. He's a little one, that one, Dave, isn't he, Ceballos? Are you a fan?
No, I'm not. It does my head in. I don't like anyone. He's a faker. He dives all over the pitch. You've only got a blow on him in his face, and he falls over holding his cheek. The other day we saw him do it again. It frustrates players around you. I'm sure teammates don't like it. He takes too many touches for me on the ball, goes nowhere in little circles. He's very tidy, and I bet in the right team, in the right position, he'd do a grand job. But for me, not in this side. And that midfield needs steel. It don't need fragile things in it and fragile players. It needs strong, mentally tough players. And for me, he just ain't got it. He ain't got what Arsenal needs.
Everyone agreeing with Dave, PG, and you know how I feel about him too. Sometimes it's like he's that Dead or Alive record. You spin me right round, baby, right round. Yeah. He does that a lot. I'm going to give him a 3.5. I mean, it's not fair, really. He only had 9 minutes, 10 minutes to come on. So I think we'll leave Mr. Michael's, putting it a little harsher, but yeah.
He still managed to mess up. He still managed to mess up 2 of his 5 passes in that time he was on.
He did. Let's what about the boss? Let's give the boss a rating, and this time, PG, we're going to let Dave go last. All right. I've been very harsh on Arteta. I'd like to just reiterate, I've never been Arteta out. I've been Arteta, get your shit together and change things. And the forced changes, I will continue to call them that. He's seen, hopefully, the light. I really hope that when Willian comes back, he won't go right into the team. And the same thing with David Luiz. I hope they're both healthy. No one wants them to not be well. That's not cool either. So today, Arteta gets a solid 7 from me.
Okay. I've never called for Arteta. As you know, I've always backed him 100%, and I still think he's the right man. We're gonna have to wait and see what the next transfer windows do. I know we've been discussing this for a while. I know you and Dan went mental about him last week. I know you've never really wanted him out, but I've
been harsh, though. It's true. I've been harsh on him.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't think it's false changes, if I'm honest. I don't think he would have played Willian. I think he's right in what he's saying. He brings the kids in at the right time. I would have liked it a week earlier. I have said that for a while, but I'm not the manager. So for me, Arteta gets an 8 tonight.
What about you, Dave?
Like I said, I can't blame the manager for everything when it's individual performances or teams lacking energy and that. You've got to blame players for that. It's that's happening in the dressing room. It's difficult for him to change that. He's only got a couple of days between games, but his game management over the last couple of games, he's been brave, whether the changes were forced or not. He's been brave. He's been allowed to be brave. He's come out after today's game suggesting that he's going to move forward with that because he's backed, apparently, to play these youngsters. So hopefully, he won't bring back Willian and Pepe straight away into the side because they don't deserve it. And if I could score him after I see the team sheet for the next game, that would be ideal because he'll obviously get a better score if he keeps him out of the side. But I think on today's performance, the substitution was perfect, wasn't it? It was just at the right time. It was what was needed. His half-time team talk must have been good, but was his pre-match team talk good enough? Because it took 45 minutes for him to get their asses in gear. So, what can he do before a game? So he ain't got to do that. But again, I think that's a player issue. I think he prepares them all well enough. And, you can't fix what ain't broken. So you don't know what's going to be broken at first half. So from the second half, I'm not going to even score him on the first half. I'll give him 8 for the second half without a shadow of a doubt. He done what the manager needed to do, made the changes, got the points, and can move them forward, hopefully, with the same team into the next game because there was a little bit of game management in it as well, taking players off.
PG, I wanted to ask you both. Oh, go on, babe.
I was going to say that I was talking to my other half and watching Arteta in that box screaming he half earns his money. I'll tell you something. He kicks every ball. He really does. And I just want it to work for him. Go on. Sorry, Soph.
Do you agree with the comment from Mr. Michael? Do you think he over-celebrates, Dave?
No.
Like when you're where we're at in the league, do you think he kind of overdoes it a little bit? Or do you think that's just the release and the relief of the stress coming out?
I think he's a young manager. I think in 15 years' time, I'm sure Carlo Ancelotti did that when he was first the manager and his first team he got was scoring goals. I'm sure he was like that, but over the years he'll mature and those situations, sometimes you think, oh, why is he celebrating? We're in a shit position in the league. It's the first goal we've got for X amount of time. It's the first time we've shown any of this. Why is he celebrating? He's celebrating because he's the manager and his team are winning. And that's what he sets out every game to do. So you can't deny the man that. You can't deny the man that's lost the last tenner he's put on every horse for the last 10 years, but he gets a win finally. You can't deny him the one celebration. And I think he deserves an 8 today, done well. He's a decent manager. But the players have to perform for him. And listen, celebrate how you want at the moment. Look what managers have done in the past. We've seen them sliding down the lines, haven't we? Ripping their trousers, and 3 months later they've left the club. So it don't necessarily mean anything. Go and celebrate how you want to celebrate. But
I've always said, Dave, when Klopp celebrated, I think it was Liverpool against West Brom. I can't remember what it was. He went up to the cop. Every Liverpool fan loved it and every other rival fan took the piss. And do you know what? I think I'd rather have a manager that does that. I love that. Absolutely. I want someone who is, God, I can't think of the word, sorry, like animated. I want someone who's got that passion. And I don't think, and also celebrating too much is an opinion. It's not a fact. He doesn't run on the pitch and hug them. He's under pressure. He's in a massive job that at the moment is going absolutely tits up.
No one's ever criticised Neil Warnock, and most of the wins he's got have been when he's been at the bottom of the league, and he says it's a lot worse when he does it. It's
only our fans criticising Arteta, no one else. I can't believe that. It infuriates me. I'm sorry.
George Graham didn't want to celebrate. Remember, he was telling everyone to calm down after the whistle went on 89, where he's in the dugout and he's like holding everyone back.
I think he was in shock.
He was adding up. I think he was adding numbers up. I think he was thinking this is going to be a good year for us, but just for everybody. I'm not saying he was adding numbers up for his own good, but he genuinely wanted the players to achieve things, and he knew that by making his players achieve things, he would achieve things. So he'd be calm in the right moment. He'd be calm in the right moment. But as soon as the cameras are off him, you know what he said. It's been well documented, isn't it? And on little bits of leaked footage and stuff like that, how he was. And
I know, but I think he went into shock. I think he went into shock personally.
Well, I remember him not wanting to drop the trophy. He was holding it like no one is going to steal. I'm going up the tunnel with this. I'm going up the tunnel with this. Yeah, he did. And he was like, don't speak to no one. Get away.
I love it. Personally, I have been gagging to have a manager who shows emotion. I was jealous of Klopp, jealous of Conte, jealous of Guardiola, and jealous even even when Mourinho was managing Madrid and all that kind of between Barcelona and stuff. And so I personally absolutely love it. And I just think that when you've been in our position, he's showing some emotion, shows that he cares. And, the dude's under a lot of stress and pressure. So to release that, I think is inevitable. Right. We are at the end of the show, everyone. Can you believe it? I know everyone in chat probably wants us to keep going and going for another couple hours. Yes, I agree. Simeone as well, another one. And we did. We all loved Emery's emotion. We were relieved when we had a manager like that, because we felt like finally we have someone with a bit of gusto on the sidelines.
So, could I say one thing?
Yes, babe.
Diego Costa. I thought you were
shit! Yes.
I was ready to line him up and shoot him down.
No. Absolutely. Everyone stay in chat. We're not going just yet. Another few minutes, because yes, I did add this to the agenda. And thank you, admin. Super sub coming in like Lacazette off the bench right there. Oh yeah, what's he saying?
He said Diego Costa. She's forgot.
Let's talk about that. Let's get your take on this, because I think a lot of us were horrified when we saw this. Can we just? Is his agent isn't Keir, is it? Just by any chance?
Does anyone know? He's still got a house in London, and he's just another Chelsea reject, isn't it? I can't do it.
Do we have to discuss it?
He's been around the block. He's been around the block. He's
a snidey. I can't say what I think of him. Don't want him.
Yeah, and the thing is, he would never have got in Arsenal's side back in the day, because obviously Wenger wouldn't have had that sort of viral player in your side, and like you said, a nasty niggly player. In today's game, he'd probably do a decent job. However, he's not 28 no more. I think he's lost his desire, and I reckon he just wants to come back to St John's Wood to live in a nice big house with his friends in London.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Suarez and João Felix are playing ahead of him at Atletico Madrid, Dave.
Absolutely.
And Diego Simeone's not a mug, is he? And that personality just doesn't suit our club culture. I know people think
he's got a dozen goals in 2 seasons. He ain't even like he's in top form. It's poor.
Johnny boy throwing in the show so much better without KC. Just joking, big man. He's going to read a lot of these messages and laugh his little butt off. But yeah, no, we can't be doing that kind of business, Dave. We just can't be in that. And this is another case to me of an agent trying to brew and kind of stimulate some type of I don't know what it is, what they call it.
Payday with his client.
Yeah,
and buzz it's about be, isn't it?
Yeah. And I just don't think that that's the kind of player Arsenal should be signing, especially if you're going to let someone like Balogun go. Do you think that's a mistake as well, real quick before we let you go? Because I'm a huge fan. There are a lot of Arsenal fans in chat who are wondering what you think of him as well. And I just wondered what your thoughts were. And if we do let a young player like that go, is it going to be a case of, regretting it the way we did Serge?
When you say go, I don't think, will he go completely, or he'll go out on loan?
They're talking about maybe a move to Germany. Liverpool have shown interest as well, and he's not committing either. So we don't know, but it looks.
Well, it's difficult because you've got to look at the boy and what he's got in front of him. Nketiah's already in front of him. He's got 2 other high-level forwards. If they start playing well, he'll be in front of him. So from his point of view, he's got to make a decision, and he's got to the 20 sort of age mark, and he needs to move forward and take his career somewhere. I think it would be bad business though if Arsenal do let him go, simply because you've got to keep that group of players together, keep all of those lads together who come up through the Hale End, and let them go at the right time when you've got more stability in the club, and when you've got better players than him there, and simply they haven't at the moment. So I'd keep him all day long.
Yep, and I would sell Eddie too. I agree with you, Pramod. Right, PG, why don't we give our rating for our super sub here, Mr. H?
Oh, right, I'll give him 10.25.
Oh, that's very nice. Very good.
And even more so, I'm going to give you 100 for your Wi-Fi connection and your sound and everything.
I don't know.
Magnifico.
PG, I don't know what the missus got him for his birthday, but let's just say your new gear that you were raving about to her.
Set up, isn't it? It's set up.
It is
nice.
total.
And I'm looking at the chat, and everyone's loving you, Dave. So you'll have to come back now. You've got all your gear.
Here's Dave's ratings. Back. Here we go.
All the gear, no idea. But I'll graft for the 45 minutes. Don't worry about that. I'll put the effort in.
Always, Dave. You've been with us over an hour. We are so pleased. Really? Thank you so much. See how much fun you have. You think it's 45 minutes? It just goes so quick.
Flew by. Yeah. Absolutely flew by.
You're getting tens here. Getting to Miss World like tens here, mate.
Look at this. I know. I can see.
Get the ice skate.
Loving that. Right, I'm just going to go and get the missus, bring her in and show her all these, and she can give you the score for me. And it won't be 10, I'll tell you that. It won't be 10.
And more like 5.
All right. Well, we do have to go. Dave, quick prediction for West Brom.
I reckon it will be a clean sheet at West Brom for sure. And I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0 West Brom. Good win. Come on, you Gunners.
All right, PG, you're going to save yours for a couple more days.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything. Anyway, go on.
She's a princess. She'll change her mind 20 times anyway.
No, it's not that, Dave. I said we'd lose against Chelsea. We won. I said we'd draw today and we won. I just don't want to say we're going to win. That's it.
How about we'll save those then for another day. In the meantime, thank you everybody in chat who's joined.
Yes.
David, thank you so much. You're top shelf as always. You're going to have to come back. I think we need to get you and KC on because a lot of people have to
could you imagine
together, because maybe we'll do a fun New Year something at some point where people just ask you guys questions because they've got so many. So we'll do another show for that. PG, you're off to have dinner. What are you doing next, babe?
Oh, I've got things to do. Right, everybody. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year in between bit. I don't know what you say now.
It's a bit like, now I want to know what you're doing. Maybe you can tell me on WhatsApp.
Thank you, Sophie, for a lovely show. We won 2 on the trot. It's so exciting.
Tell them, PG.
I'll tell them. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your chat. Dave Hillier, I love you, and I love your sound and your Wi-Fi, which means you can come back often. So thank you for a lovely, great show. Always Arsenal.